So Climate Asia is a social enterprise dedicated to strengthening the climate ecosystem in Asia through the capacity building of organizations, focusing on human resources, organizational development, and thought leadership. Climate change is going to cause a massive shift in the fundamental functioning of several industries, and that's wherein Climate Asia has stepped in. It's a new initiative which helps in bridging the gap by working with direct and indirect climate actors and organizations across the spectrum in various sectors. We accomplish this through strategic human resources and organizational development support, a digital platform to address HR needs, information dissemination related to climate funding, events and news, and thought leadership in the form of convenings, conferences, panel discussions, and dialogue building. We recently launched the Conversation of Change series, which is a video interview series centered around one of the most pertinent crises of our time, climate change. Conversation of Change attempts to synthesize perspectives around climate actions, skills, talent, and journey of various climate leaders and their role in the climate ecosystem. In today's episode, we have Mr. Srinivas Krishnaswamy from Vasudha Foundation. Just quickly introducing Mr. Krishnaswamy to our larger audience. Srinivas Krishnaswamy, an economist by training, has over a decade of experience working on issues of economic reforms, sustainable development, and the environment. He set up Vasudha Foundation in January 2010 with an aim to promote environment-friendly, socially just, and sustainable models of development by focusing on alternative technologies and lifestyle solutions. The foundation is currently working on a wide range of projects around renewable energy, energy efficiency, and policy-related campaigns and lobbies both at the national and international level, while promoting green and alternative technologies at the grassroots level, creating the crucial link between energy and poverty alleviation. In a short span of 4 years, Mr. Srinivas helped steer Vasudha Foundation in implementing a wide range of projects that include facilitating a few states in the preparation of their state climate action plans, preparing a detailed institutional spending plan for the nodal agency, implementing the state climate action plan of Madhya Pradesh, which has been accepted by the Madhya Pradesh government and is being implemented. Welcome, sir, to our episode of Conversation of Change. So I'll start with my first question to you. Could you describe the work done at Vasudha Foundation and what your role as the Chief Executive Officer looks like?
Yeah, so typically our work in Vasudha Foundation, so actually maybe we'll have to, when we come to editing it, we could update the information that you have. So we are close to about 12 years old now, 10 to 12 years old. We were set up in 2010. And since then, we have come a fairly long way in terms of what we do and what we've been doing and what our current profile is within the climate and environment space, climate, environment, and clean energy space in India is concerned. Number one, as you rightly said, our focus is largely to work in the clean energy climate space. And how we do it is largely working with engaging with a wide range of stakeholders, including government stakeholders, both at the national level as a state and at the state level, and using data, primarily data as the main sort of what shall I say, as the platform, or data as the vehicle to bring about a transition, both in terms of energy transition as well as transitioning to a sustainable future. So that's been how we operate. So in a nutshell, or rather to sort of elaborate a little on some of the work we do and the approach we take. In addition, so the early days we started off by working with state governments and facilitating the preparation of state climate action plan, the version 1 of the state climate action plan. So this is between the period of 2010, 2012, 2013, 2014, where this state action plan was done in the backdrop of India announcing its national action plan on climate change. the first version of it. Subsequently, we've done a whole lot of work around sensitizing communities on climate change, including doing a detailed campaign which was supported by Shakti Sustainable Energy Foundation on what we then called as a universal service obligation. Primarily at that time, this was a pre-2014 time where energy access was still a major issue. A lot of households were still not connected to the grid and did not have access to clean and sustainable energy. And that's when we thought we would do a campaign, and we conceptualized a campaign that would bring communities, that could empower communities to actually ask the DISCOMs, the electricity suppliers, through the regulatory or state regulatory authority for an electricity connection. And so this, as a preparatory to it, we did and prior to it, we had done a very detailed study on the energy access situation in rural India. And we had also done a very detailed survey, a pan-India survey on the ability and willingness to pay for energy services. So this was the 2013-2014 era. And then come 2015, we expanded our work to include tracking greenhouse gas emissions in India. And we set up or we conceptualized in partnership with Shakti Sustainable Energy Foundation, the first ever platform of civil society organization to estimate greenhouse gases in India as a civil society initiative. And this platform, the Greenhouse Gas Platform India, was set up in 2015 with 6 leading NGOs, including CEW, CSTEP, ICLEI, etc., WRI, and of course, we as a secretariat, and the lead of the platform, or the organization that conceptualized a platform. The GAG platform, since then, in 2015 till now, we have done about 4 rounds of emissions estimation, not just at the national level, but both at the national level as well as the state levels, accounting for the major greenhouse gases, namely CO2, nitrous oxide, and methane. And for all the sectors and subsectors, as mandated by the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, we have estimated the emissions for that. And our work has actually been recognized by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change in its biannual updated report that the ministry submits to the UNFCCC, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, as part of its biannual updated report, the BORs as they call it. And our work has been acknowledged in India's BOR1 and the BOR2 that the government submitted to the UNFCCC. In more recent times, some of our flagship programs has also been, like I said, our major work is to use data to bring about a transformation and to trigger debates around what a transformation should look like, what an energy transition should look like. So we set up what is called as a Vasudha Power.in, which is a very, very comprehensive database on the power sector value chain. When we started off initially in 2015-16, we started off with just the generation, and then we broad-based it to include the entire power sector value chain. And now this website is, now we have a MOU with Niti Aayog, a memorandum of understanding with Niti Aayog, where we are actually merging the Vasudha Power website, the comprehensive data portal on the power sector, with Niti Aayog's energy dashboard. We are going to broad-base this, and we're going to call it India Climate Energy Dashboard. And it's not just going to have information on the power sector value chain, but it's going to have information on the entire energy value chain, as well as key climate data, including climate variability data and so on. And more importantly, bringing together key economic indicators like GDP, GSDP, etc., etc., etc. And we will be managing this entire website for Niti Aayog for a period of 5 years. The whole idea, again, is to have a one-stop shop information on all the various aspects that can help all of us to come up with a 2070 net zero pathway in line with the announcement that the Prime Minister made at Glasgow. And again, more importantly, the information that we're going to gather or we're going to put it on the website will have the latest contemporariness in the sense that it will be, our aim is to make it near real time. Our aim is to make it as granular as possible. So it will not just be national level data, but national, state, wherever possible, DISCOM, wherever possible, district level data, wherever possible, if we can go further down, panchayat level data is what we are aspiring to do. In addition to that, again, another major programs that we have been I would say pioneered, I would say in a way, if I can use that word, is for the first time, we embarked on preparing a climate action plan for the entire districts. There are a lot of city action plans that organizations like ICLEI and WRI and various organizations have put together. But coming up with a comprehensive district climate action plan, no one had done it till we took up the work. We prepared the comprehensive district climate action plan for 6 districts, namely Ahmedabad and Rajkot in Gujarat, Pune and Nagpur in Maharashtra, and Bhopal and Indore in Madhya Pradesh. And this actually got a whole lot of traction. And now a lot of states have actually approached us that they would like to prepare district climate action plans for all the districts across the states. The whole idea, the premise behind preparing the district climate action plan is that hitherto it's been more a top-down approach, right? So you have the national action plan and then you have a state action plan and that's it. So the whole idea is, can we have district action plan or panchayat action plan, district action plan, all of that totals to the state action plan totals to the national action plan. So that was our approach, and it seems to have got a fair amount of traction with our plans for Ahmedabad and Rajkot released by none other than the Chief Minister of Gujarat and the then earlier Environment Minister of Maharashtra actually released our Nagpur report, and of course the Pune report, and Nagpur and in Bhopal and Indore in Madhya Pradesh, we had senior officials of the Madhya Pradesh state government actually releasing the report. Now, fast forward to 2020, 2021, 2022, our focus has been largely to work with subnationals going beyond the district plans. So we now have a formal MOU with the Department of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of Uttar Pradesh, where we are actually starting off preparing action plans for 27, what we call as a 27 climate smart village panchayats. So we're doing it for 27 of them. And then we're also developing a net zero vision for Uttar Pradesh. We are working with Uttar Pradesh Renewable Energy Development Agency in preparing or updating their some of their policies for renewables and energy space, and so on and so forth. And of course, likewise, we are also getting into other states like Telangana, Andhra Pradesh to some extent, Kerala. So we're actually broad-basing our footprint to look at more subnational actions.
Thank you, Mr. Krishnaswamy. That has been quite a impactful and powerful journey, I would say, using data for energy transition, facilitating climate action plans, to sensitizing communities on climate change, and also, to focus on that top-down approach as the need of the hour. That has been, thank you for sharing that journey of Vasudha Foundation with us. I will take a step back to it, and I'll now focus more towards your journey, which is you have more than 18 plus years of experience with where you started your journey with Greenpeace when climate advocacy was not a mainstream topic of discussion. And so how did the idea of establishing the Vasudha Foundation come to fruition? At the same time, what was your vision while establishing Vasudha Foundation, and how would you describe your journey so far? Because according to you, also, what are the changes that you see in the climate space back then in 2004 to now? How would you describe your personal journey?
Well, very interesting. So let me sort of start off with, a small anecdote of what happened way back. I think it was 2005. So at that particular point in time, there were very few organizations actually working on climate change, and Greenpeace was one of them. And this was before the IPCC report, the first one of the earlier IPCC reports came out, which sort of popularized the whole climate change. This was led by then late Sri R.K. Pachauri. So the anecdote goes like this: we were Greenpeace was headquartered in Bangalore, and so we wanted to do a small media briefing on climate change and various aspects of that, and we organized it in the Press Club of Bangalore, and we were hoping we would get about 30-40 journalists to talk about climate change, and we had ordered so many samosas. At the end of it, there was not a single journalist who turned up, and we had to take all the samosas home. Anyway, so this is way back in 2005. And then came the IPCC report, came the Bali meeting, and it was only in Bali meeting that a whole lot of journalists at the Bali climate meeting, which I think was 2007, if I'm not mistaken, 7 or 8. That was a time when journalists actually got involved. And then came the Copenhagen, where again, there was a huge jamboree of Indian journalists and so on. So yes, back in 2005-06, the issue of climate change was very little known. There were very few people working on that issue. The few organizations that I know who were working on it was Greenpeace was one, which is fairly vocal on the issue. WWF was another one, which is fairly vocal on the issue. None of the other organizations, CW was still not set up, Vasudha was still not set up. C-STEP were in the nascent stage, but they were more into energy issues. Prayas was very much active, but Prayas was more in the energy space, more regulatory space, not really in the climate space, not really in the renewable energy space too. And part of Greenpeace is one of the first activities that I did as Greenpeace was to actually file petitions before regulatory commissions for a RPO, what is now popularly called as RPO. And we got the first order from Orissa, which even now has a name there. The very, very first order any regulatory commission actually passed for to stipulate the amount of renewables that the DISCOM should purchase in a year. It started off with a minuscule 2%, but that was great, because at that particular point of time, there was very, very little renewables there. So fast forward to 2021, things have changed. You have a whole lot of people, you have youth like you, a whole lot of you are into this in a big way. That was not the case when we started off the work. But now I would say that, things are a lot more easier now than what it used to be, because technology is matured. At that particular point in time when we started, solar was as expensive as 20, 18, 19 rupees a kilowatt hour. Now it's come down to 2 rupees or sub 2 rupees. Technology is matured. You have storage that is coming in. I don't think we even thought of an electric vehicle then. Now I drive an electric vehicle. So things have changed. And then so the pathway to it, and a lot more people are here. The technology is sort of changing very fast, and new technologies are coming. So there's definitely a change.
Thanks for sharing that. As you said that technologies have matured and more youth involvement has happened so far, I would move to the next question, which is on capacity building. What are the various challenges faced in the areas of capacity building or knowledge transfer when it comes to attracting and retaining talent at climate organizations?
Come again. I sort of missed the last part.
Yeah. So when it comes to attracting and retaining talent at climate organizations, what are the challenges and organizations face in the areas of, say, capacity building or even knowledge transfer or knowledge sharing? How do you train them? How do you make sure that the talent is attracted towards say the youth space as well as in the climate space, as well as it's being retained?
So primarily what really happens is this, that basically now, like I said, thanks to the IPCC, the information on climate change and the what shall I say, the the impacts of climate change is so very well publicized, and you also have very reader-friendly, user-friendly newspapers cover it in a big way now. So there's and a lot of youth are sort of see this as an opportunity to work on. So that way, yes, there are people interested in this, but the biggest sort of drawback that the sector faces is that you always compete with the higher paying sectors like your IT and so on. So, for example, economists, right? Someone who's done a master's in economics from, say, Delhi School, or LSE, London School of Economics. They are in demand with the banking industry. They are in demand with the IT industry. We would also like them. So, but then we obviously cannot pay what they can pay, the IT industry. So the starting salary in IT industry is much, much higher than what the NGOs could. I mean, that is changing, in fact. There was a time when NGO salaries were really, really poor, but that's no longer the case. NGOs are also fairly decent paymasters. But nevertheless, we cannot really compete with the IT industry or the big consulting firms, so to speak. So that's one big challenge. And but of course, the plus side for us to attract talent is there are a lot of people who are very compassionate on the issues, and they wouldn't want to be working in a sweatshop, and they would rather be working on something on the ground. And so we do tend to get fairly decent talent. But of course, salary is one. That's number one major issue. Number two, I think, when we talk of research and when you talk of modeling and so on, you also need the kind of modeling skills or the high technology skills, which again, there are very few people with that kind of skill set. So one will either have to train them, and then if you train them, the worry that they will get the training and then go on to the big fours or the thing is always there. That threat is always there. And the third, of course, is the resources to buy the kind of software and all of that. That again is fairly daunting. But otherwise, getting talent or the capacity building that way. I mean, a lot of us, for example, including Vasudha or a lot of organizations, we tend to take people fresh from college and we train them. So that's the best way to do it.
Right. I would also now move to another related question to it, which is, how did your training as an economist aid Vasudha Foundation's vision that revolves around creating the crucial link between energy and poverty alleviation? And as somebody who has worked in different fields, what advice would you give to a senior or a mid-level professional transitioning into this space? And one piece of advice to a student who wants to work in the climate sector.
One piece of advice to the student who wants to work in the climate sector is that I would say that the opportunities are huge, and this will still be, what shall I say? This would still be a sunrise sector, I would say, for some more years to come. It's not going to fade away soon, because now you're looking at 2070 and your technologies are maturing, so there'll be newer areas that you look at. So 5 years back, you were looking at how to make solar, or a few years back, you were looking at how to make solar, popularize solar, and now solar has already become popularized because of the cost coming down and so on and so forth. The next new kid on the block is your hydrogen. Maybe a few years later, there could be something green hydrogen. A few years later, there could be something else. So there's always this opportunity. There's always this, what should I say, change that happens that you can adapt to. So I would say that this sector has a lot of opportunities. It is not a dying sector like some sectors tend to be. That's number one. For mid-level professionals, what we would like to tell them is that, again, the opportunities are bright. Assuming that this person is coming from a high-paying field, one thing that I would say is that, yes, this may not be as high-paying as his or her previous job has been, but this would be equally or this would be satisfying for a person, because at the end of the day, when you look back at the work that you've done or the kind of progress that is there on in the field of energy transition, you feel very happy that your efforts have paid off. So that way, it is that yes, it may not make your pockets big, or it may not enlarge in your pockets, but it will at least give you the satisfaction. So there's a trade-off between satisfaction and pockets.
Thank you for sharing that. I will move to my next question, which is, in a short span of 4 years, you helped steer Vasudha Foundation in implementing a wide range of projects that include facilitating a few states in the preparation of their state climate action plans. What did the process of Vasudha Foundation's collaboration with the Department of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, especially the government of UP, for an initiative to mainstream and enhance climate actions like at the panchayat level look like? What helped you believe that the potential of state-focused missions in the future of climate protection strategies?
So the work in, there are very few states which have actually come up with this ambitious plan of panchayat, making climate smart panchayats, and UP has really taken that ambitious step. So we're very happy to be involved in that. We've just started the work, so it will be early days for me to talk too much on that. And I would only say that this is work in progress. So there's not much information that I would like to share now, or I have to share now. Again, like I said, it's not 4 years, but it's almost 10 years since we were established. So we have a wide range of experience working on a wide range of issues. So by and large, I would say that, there are a lot of interesting initiatives taken at various levels, whether it's a district level, whether it's the state level, whether it's even the panchayat level at across various states in India. And as we talk, and as we with newer announcements being made at the national level, there are a lot of opportunities that also states see for themselves. Again, with the cost of renewables coming down and the cost of the fossil fuels going up, the very fact of the matter is, petrol prices are going up, so and so on. So people do see opportunities and in the alternatives, whether it's electric vehicles or so on. And governments are also pushing for it from a broader economic angle. So there's also a strong economic angle to shift to a cleaner sort of a fuel or alternative, so to speak.
You are a member of the Governing Council of the Indian Renewable Energy Foundation, and also a member of the core governing team of IREF. In 2016, you also authored an article named "Opportunity to Leapfrog into the Renewable Age: Is India on the Right Track?", which was part of the Heinrich Böll-Stephan series. According to the article, indicators suggest that India has embarked on the right track to leapfrog to a renewable energy age, but still has far to go. Since India has a target to reach net zero carbon emissions by 2070, how different does the picture of India look now, 5 years later, in 2022, and the road ahead?
Yeah, so like I said, things have changed quite a bit. That article I must have written in 2016, and we are now in 2022. So there's been a lot of change. Even a year back, we were not even sure if the issue of what shall I say, net zero would even be announced by India. Rightly so. Right? So, but then things have changed. So I would say that yes, every day has been a change, and every year there's been a change, and we're doing pretty well on various fronts.
Yeah. I'll move to the last question now, which is, being a founder and CEO of an independent organization, what are your preferred ways to disconnect from work and maintain a work-life balance?
So, there are a whole lot of things I do. I do a lot of reading. I love to read. I love to travel. So we do go out as a family, we do travel. There are times when I take off for long drives, and I have an electric car, so I'm not even bothered. I'm a little less worried about carbon footprint. So wherever, so my pastime is also to look at where are charging stations. So a little bit of work and pleasure, right? So I do that, and I also most evenings, if not all, you can find me in the kitchen because I do like to cook, and I find cooking a huge stress buster.
Any book recommendation that you would like to give to our audience?
Offhand, no, but I've read a whole lot of books from, and I don't have any particular genre. I read from fiction, from a bestseller, to anything that sounds good, to even an Ayn Rand or anything. I mean, I don't have any preferences.
That was the last of the question. Thank you so much for taking our time, Mr. Krishnaswamy. It has been a pleasure hearing about you and the journey of Vasudha Foundation and the amazing work that you all are doing.